Hi, everyone. It's Marcia Martin, the Heart Healer. I have got such a dynamic topic to talk about with you today. You know, I thought procrastination was just a bad habit that I would engage in occasionally, and I never thought much about it. And then someone wrote in and said, "Can you help me with procrastination?" I thought, well, sure, let's take a look at this. Let's see what's really behind it. Oh my gosh, it is so fabulous. It is so deep and there is so much behind it. We have to have a class on it. It is so great. So check your email. You'll be hearing about the class via email. And for everyone that's on my email list already, and for those who are still signing up, there will be a discount on the class as a thank you to my email list. And those who attend via other means will not get that same discount. So get on my email list, marciamartinthehearthealer.com, and click on contact, and that will get you on my list. If you have a question, that's the best way to get it to me. Marcia spelled M-A-R-C-I-A, marciamartinthehearthealer.com. But let's dive in. This is fantastic. I want to hear all of the concerns and problems that you might be having with procrastination. There is so much in today's channeled message, but it doesn't go deep enough. We have to have a class on this so that I can really help you clear it. And I'm still getting more information about it. And I don't even have the class completely formulated yet. Oh, goodness. They're doing construction next door, and I thought they had quit for lunch. Apparently not. Okay, so close the window. So the way it works for me is that they give me an idea, and because I am a teacher, taught elementary school for a long time, trained in teaching, they ask me to bring to what they present understanding and flesh it out. So it is a very much a partnership between myself and my guides when we present these classes. And that's why it takes me a while. I have to sit with it and really understand the information so that I make sure that I'm giving you the absolute best that I can. So let's take a look at what they have to share with us about procrastination. And then I've got a lot to share, a lot of stories, and a lot of fun stuff to go over. But I definitely want to make sure that I hear from you. So hold on to your questions, and we'll make sure we have time to get to them. And they begin. Dearest hearts, the habit of procrastination, the habit of putting off what you know must be attended to, is a common practice that brings with it a great amount of frustration and may result in lost opportunity. Most of you try to overcome this habit through force. That was me. It was all about force. I would make a list, and I had two different ways to approach procrastination. The first one was do the thing that I hated the most so that I could get that checked off my list or crossed off my list, which generally meant that I would do a whole lot of things that weren't on my list that I didn't really need to do, just so that I wouldn't have to do the thing that I didn't want to do. Or I would do a whole bunch of little things and try to build up to the big thing. But either way, I was still procrastinating. I still wasn't really clear about why I just didn't get it done. And they continue. You may even make itemized lists that are designed to prevent procrastination and keep you on task. But sorting out what needs to be done when is not at the heart of this habit. And that began the light bulb moment for me, because that's all I had known to do up until that point. What you've not realized is that procrastination has an ally, fear. And when you address the fear, instead of the thing you're procrastinating about, You'll remove the habit, which is formed from the belief that fear is feeding. Wow. Let's just look at that for a minute. You're not bad. You're not shameful. You're not unable to do this thing that you've been putting off. It is fear that is feeding you this lie. And if you have no way to identify and then clear the fear, it's just going to keep telling you the same story. And the story we generally get is, oh, it's not that important, or I'll do it later, or a whole bunch of excuses, because we're not looking at and dealing with the substance of the issue. So what do we mean when we claim that procrastination is fed by fear, and how does that help you stop delaying, putting off, or never getting around to those less than pleasant items on your to-do list? Now, they say less than pleasant because if it were easy to do, or we wanted to do it, or we felt like we were capable of doing it, we would just go ahead and do it. So they've categorized all that as less than pleasant. First, the reason you don't want to do something is because you perceive it to be either difficult or time-consuming. In either case, you've attached a fear-based thought to the action. If the fear is difficult, your fear is that it will be too hard for you and you'll discover you're not capable, intelligent enough, strong enough, etc. And that list can go on forever. We can have all been guilty of labeling ourselves in ways that do not serve us. You've decided in advance of the task that you're not enough in regard to this thing you have to accomplish. You've judged yourself in proportion to the task you've assigned yourself and have found yourself to be lacking. If you're procrastinating because the task is time-consuming and you don't want to invest the time, or you believe you don't have enough time, then you're again stepping into lack. When I was writing this, I immediately went to them and said, okay, I get the it's too difficult part, but you know what? I often tell myself it's going to take me a long time and I don't have time to do this right now. And they came right back with, you don't believe you have enough time. This time, your fear is, I won't have enough time to accomplish this and everything else. You're in fear of the illusion of fear. In both instances, fear and not you have taken control of your life. You've handed your power over to fear and have then begun playing the justification game of I'm not enough, there isn't enough, or some other version of lack thinking. The minute you step into lack, you step out of alignment and out of abundance. Take a moment to sit with that. When you step into lack, you step out of alignment and out of abundance. Whoa. So now procrastination is not something that we're doing because we don't feel like doing whatever it is that we assigned ourselves. It's actually preventing us from experiencing abundance in all areas of your life. Wow. That's when I said, we need a class on this. This is robbing people of their abundance. Then you're capable of proving yourself correct. Because you believe there's not enough time, intelligence, strength, etc., you automatically begin limiting your capability to meet your expectation. None of you have a difficulty with being bright enough, strong enough, worthy enough, intelligent enough, any enough. You're more than enough. It is your belief system and your desire to meet that belief that's causing the problem. Now, you may want to argue, but there's only so much time. That was me adding my little 2 cents, and we must answer, how much of that time are you wasting with needless distractions? When you set aside fear, the idea that you're lacking the necessary component required to successfully complete the task, you'll discover extra time, untapped intelligence, resources, talent, and the capability to get it all done. However, you must be willing to step into your greatness instead of running from all you're capable of. Procrastination is the avoidance of your greatness rather than the acceptance of it. No one is lacking in greatness. You're lacking, you, me, we are lacking in the acceptance of our greatness. It's believing the lie that you're lacking rather than stepping into the truth that you're more than enough and that you wouldn't have been given the task if you weren't capable of handling it. This doesn't mean that you'll be able to stay the same and complete every task. Many times you'll be required to grow, to stretch, and to step into your fullness to complete a task. But you're already capable, even if you must expand into your fullness to complete that task. Your ability to get it done is a non-issue. Your willingness to stretch into your power is the root. There is so much here. We've got to stop assigning what we're capable of by what we see in this moment and recognize our capability is never ending. But sometimes, yes, we must grow. So you must do what you can from where you are and grow into the task, your strength, your intelligence. Therefore, let's examine this fear of lack and provide concrete steps that can be taken so you'll be able to prevent procrastination from happening at best, or at least stop it before you're denied an opportunity to shine. Remember, when we're first engaging in a new way of believing, a new habit of the way that we're thinking about ourselves, we will catch ourselves backsliding over and over again. Do not greet that backsliding with any kind of shame, guilt, blame, or condemnation of any sort. Instead, say, oh my gosh, look how brilliant I am. I've caught this. I caught it before I allowed it to run away with me. And then you simply begin again at whatever it was that you were trying to accomplish. With enough practice, if you keep reinforcing the belief that you are enough, then you will not engage in procrastination. But in the beginning, no shame, no condemnation. Look at me, I'm brilliant. I caught it before it was allowed to really do damage. First, you must examine your root. What are you most afraid of when you think about completing this project? So, what is that fear? Sometimes it can be, I'm afraid if I'm a success, I won't be able to handle the success. Marianne Williamson wrote a beautiful quote about that. But oftentimes, it's not that at all. Oftentimes, it is, I don't feel that I'm capable. I am afraid that I'll fail. Once you've identified what you fear, take that fear a step further and ask yourself, why am I allowing this fear to control me? Fear is controlling you as though it owns you and you have no ownership over your life. What story have I created around this limiting belief? Remember, anytime there's a belief, there is a story to support it. When you want to change a belief, you must first change the story you are telling. What supports this story? What things am I allowing myself to believe, or what physical events do I see that I need to change that are allowing me to believe that this story could be true? Now, why do I feel compelled to keep telling this story? And why am I not addressing this issue? So, first, why do I feel compelled to keep telling this story? What is allowing this to have gained so much momentum that I believe this is true? And lastly, and this is quite deep, why am I not addressing this issue? This is going to bring up some pain points that need to be addressed. Once you have your why, your explanation of why you can't, drop into the heart and examine each piece of your story for truth. Which parts of your story are obvious falsehoods or fabrications that you can easily dismiss? If you're mindful, you'll catch yourself telling yourself all sorts of things that aren't true. Just let them go. You caught them, thank them for coming to your awareness, and then let them go. Which parts of your story have deep roots founded on an earlier experience? This is where the rubber starts meeting the road. What about those things that someone told me, those beliefs that I just swallowed without examining? What about those? And which parts of your story are based on someone else's belief system that you adopted without question? You really have to be careful when you're dealing with beliefs that you examine what feels true to you. Take the falsehoods, fabrications, and the adopted beliefs and decide if they're serving you. This is such an important step. Oftentimes we try to go in there with a fire hose and wash everything clean at once. And that's not going to work. It's too much too fast. Take the things that you can easily see. This is not serving me. And allow yourself to work with that. Clear and heal that. If you have things that you're still feeling attached to and you just can't see your way clear, allow them to stay for now, and as you grow, go back and address them. You don't want to try to do it all at once and cause yourself overwhelm. If they're not serving you, let them go. Take a moment to decide you want to be strong, powerful, and competent, and construct a new belief system that works in harmony with your authentic self and supports your new improved story. Make sure this story feels good and uplifts and empowers you. So notice the beliefs have to support the story. That's why we create the story first. How do I really want to feel? Give yourself a place to go so that you're not just saying, okay, I've thrown everything out. Now I have no idea who I am or where I want to go, and I'm going to try to address my beliefs. Give yourself a place to go first, something that feels good. Then you can take a look at those beliefs. Now you have to go even deeper. You'll have to go into the sacred space of the heart where you're clinging to old failures or experiences that are as yet defining you. Take the time to look with unconditional love and no judgment on these past issues that continue to control you. Whoa! These issues, these things that are not you, are controlling you. This is so powerful. We say things like, oh, I'm just having a run of bad luck, or darn, I just can't seem to get ahead. That's a belief. That's an illusion based on fear. It has no truth. But as long as that's the story that you're telling, that will continue to control and color your life. Your new story needs to say, everything is always working out for me. Now participate in a dialogue with what was. Do not run from what you find and do not approach with aggression. This is so important. You are not wielding a machete out to get everything that wasn't supporting you. You are forgiving yourself for adopting beliefs at a time when you were in a different place. You might even say to yourself, I get it. I created this belief, but I'm not there anymore. Give yourself room to breathe. I get it. I created this. It isn't healthy. It isn't serving me. I'm not there anymore. What can I create from this new place? Simply look with loving eyes at what was. You will be confronted by past hurts. Some of these wounds will be deep, and your job is not to pick at them or call them out. Your purpose is to shower that place of pain with love and understanding. Now, in the class, we will clear and heal these hurts. But when you're on your own and you don't understand or don't have a method to deal with this, simply shower the place with love and understanding. If that's all you're able to do, that is light years ahead of the way that you were handling it in the past, which is condemnation. Recognize that the wound which was created represents a you that had less experience and fewer tools. The hurt stored was perceived to be real, and it hasn't had the opportunity to be acknowledged so it can heal. Bring forth the hurt, allow it to have a voice. Don't censure those feelings, acknowledge them, and do the work of transformation. Recognizing that you will not stop procrastinating unless you eliminate this fear-based negative thinking from your energetic signature and do the work to transform that which was painful into that which is now a source of strength. This is the process of growth, and this is the way to defeat that which you fear. Now, I understand this is a lot to take in. If procrastination is a problem for you, you owe it to yourself to take this class. I will help you do the deep healing work and give you tools that you can use every day moving forward. If you're just, this is an occasional problem and you don't feel lit up by, oh my gosh, this is really controlling me, then do it on your own. But if you need help, the help is available. Procrastination is the perception of lack. You're believing you're not capable enough. The fastest way to prevent procrastination is to look at the fear which is allowing the procrastination to continue. Address, clear, and replace fear-based thinking with the truth that you're more than enough, and you'll discover a new eagerness to complete every task. And I have to tell you, I've been working, as I said, on this class, and I started using one of the tools that has come forward. Oh my goodness, I had no idea. It is making my life so much easier. So let's just take a look at everything that they've shared with us. And I so want to hear from all of you and find out how I can best support you. So, to recap, we got to understand what procrastination is. It is lack thinking. We must believe there's something lacking in us in order to engage in procrastination. These were, for me, such light bulb moments that I cannot tell you. I never associated procrastination with lack before. I assigned it a whole bunch of other not very nice names, but I had never assigned lack thinking to it. The person who says and believes I'm more than enough doesn't need to punish themselves by procrastinating and delaying their reward. When we finish something that feels really tough to do, we all get excited and congratulations to me, and it feels so good. So if you believe you're more than enough, you're going to want to run toward that feeling and not punish yourself by putting it off. Because procrastination, which equals lack, equals I don't deserve to receive. And right there, that is at the heart of our abundance issues. I don't deserve to receive. So I will put off every reward. Procrastination is always fear-based. It's never truth-based. If you're procrastinating, you're not in your authentic self, who is perfect. You're in your pretend self. And your pretend self can be flawed. Actually, let me rephrase that. Your pretend self is always flawed because it's believing all sorts of lies. So, the pretend self, first of all, doesn't exist. It's merely a figment of your imagination, and it was dreamed up by your limiting beliefs or your negative thinking as a way to support those beliefs. I can't do this because, and now you've created a pretend self that can't do this thing because I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not beautiful enough. I don't know, you just add in any adjective you want because it's all a lie. You are more than enough. We put off that which we believe will be unpleasant because it's too difficult, it's too time-consuming, it's too something more than we are. And yes, it's usually tasks that have little intrinsic feel-good in them because we think we'll feel bad while we're doing them, even though we always feel great when we're done. So, let's say I've got a big report due. My daughter's in first year in college, so I hear this from her a lot. And so she doesn't want to do it. She doesn't want to do it. Oh, she's putting it off. She's putting it off because it's really not that exciting to write the report. It's just she wants the grade, but she really doesn't want to write that paper. That's the paradox. We put off doing it until we're crushed under the guilt of not accomplishing. And yet, when we finally get it done, we're elated that it's done. There's such relief. And we make these big promises to ourselves how we're not going to procrastinate ever again. Yet, if you don't address the fear, the lack mentality behind the procrastination, we're still on our hamster wheel, ready for round 2. I have not yet had an opportunity to share this information with her. I think she's going to be absolutely astounded because she has all sorts of, and I did too when I was in college, all sorts of reasons why she's waiting till the last minute to get that paper done. We must stop handing over our power and justifying our behavior. Nothing good, nothing empowering is going to come from our justification. And justification, it's too hard. It will take too long. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm something lacking. So let's review our steps to stop procrastination. Examine the root, which is your why. What are you afraid of? What's true? What's factual? An earlier failure is not a fact. It's an event. It's something that happened and it's over. So you cannot base today on yesterday. If you already failed, it didn't happen in the now, it happened in the past, or you wouldn't be aware of it. So get yourself, your mind, out of yesterday and what you were not able to do yesterday. You're not there. You're here. You're right here, right now, and you can accomplish absolutely everything. Then begin weaving that new, uplifting story, that feel-good story that represents your authentic self. Do some heart work. Give the loving acceptance to the part of you that is not feeling worthy enough. Bring forth the hurt and love it away. Show it compassion and understanding. You never want to condemn. The absolute worst thing we can do when we find ourselves procrastinating is to enter into blame and shame. Just start that whole big nasty dialogue about how bad we are now that we have procrastinated. You know, I have a client who's very near and dear to my heart who is a procrastinator. And she was actually not the person who said, can you do something about procrastination? But she would often in our sessions say, I feel so bad I procrastinated again. She immediately starts with the negative about herself, shaming and blaming, and I don't deserve this. And my response previously was always, why are you so, get out of this self-critical self. Love yourself. Where is the love for you? Why are you not loving yourself? And she would say, yeah, you're right, okay. And okay, let's focus on what you have accomplished, what you have done right. But it seemed like the next session, she would still bring a negative story with her to the session to tell me how she felt about procrastinating again. And I knew I just wasn't getting to the root. So I am so delighted to be able to take this deeper look because I am blessed beyond measure by the incredible group of individuals that I work with. But they come to me to solve a problem, to learn new tools, and to gain a spiritual perspective. So they don't come to me just, oh, let me make you feel better for the moment. No, they come to me to transform their lives. And I didn't have this tool, so I'm just so delighted that I can now offer her something even bigger than what I was offering her before. And guess what? I'm not feeling guilty that I didn't have this to present to her before, as I'm not there. I gave her everything I had, and it was fabulous. And now I can give her even more, and it's even more fabulous. So I'm not going to go back to yesterday and say I'm a failure because I didn't address this need perfectly. I'm saying, hallelujah, now I really have a tool that I can use to help her. So remember, we all come with our negative thinking and our limiting beliefs, that feeling of undeserving or lack of worth is why people seek me out. They just don't feel good about themselves. And of course, the procrastination goes along with it because why would you do anything that is truly self-loving if you don't feel that you're worthy of that self-love? So it's all a big bundle tied up together. Now, I am not particularly great, even though I have made huge leaps forward with my ability on the computer, but I was never great at the computer. So whenever I had on my list something computer-based, and this is beginning in college, so I have to share with you the story of my college experience with computers. But anytime I had a computer-based project, I would find anything and everything that I could accomplish first. So by the time I got to the computer work, I was already tired. Had been putting it off for so long, I had built a big negative story around it, and I was really feeding the fear. So the first thing that I would do when I would sit down at the computer was be afraid. And then I would try to figure it out. And I could feel myself tense up. And actually my children have taught me much of what I know. And they would get to a point where they would become so frustrated with me because they would show me again and again and again. And finally they would say, "How are you not getting this? Why don't you're going to have to learn on your own now. Look it up in Google and just follow the steps." Okay, so of course there would come a day when nobody was home to help me and I'm on a time crunch. So I look it up on Google. How do I do so-and-so? I don't know what it was. But let's just say one of my big things was I needed to put the words on the picture instead of below the picture. That was like beyond under comprehension for me. So I looked that up, and there were like steps 1 through 5. It was really clear. So I read the steps, but I could feel myself getting more and more afraid that I wasn't going to understand. So I read the steps. I do step 1. Then I'm so in such a stranglehold with fear that I don't remember the other steps. So I go back, I read it again. Okay, step 1, I got step 1, that's good. Step 2, I'm not paying attention. I have allowed fear to run away with my brain. I'm not even comprehending what step 2 is. Step 3, I keep reading, pretending to myself that I'm understanding what I'm reading. Then I go back and try to do it. I do step 1, maybe step 3, then maybe step 4, then maybe step 2, and it doesn't work. Over and over and over, hours and hours and hours I'm sitting there. Why is this not working? I'm following the steps. Then one of my kids, I think it was my son, came home. I said, "Okay, you got to rescue me. I've been here for hours." And he looks at it and he says, "Okay, what are you doing?" So I show him. And then I show him what I was doing next. And he said, "Wait a minute. That's not what it told you to do." I said, "Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's exactly what it told me to do. It just isn't working." He said, "No. Where's step 2? You've got to do it in order. The computer needs you to go in logical, sequential order in order for it to work." And of course, "I am doing it in order. I am. You have to do it for me." "No, you can do this. Come on, I'll show you." And he walks me through it. I realize while he's doing it, I've zoned out again. Then he really got my goat. He said, "Okay, now you do it." I'm like, "What? Oh, God, I've just been called on the carpet and I haven't been paying attention because fear knocked me off the planet." Okay, so I start doing it and I do it wrong again. But this time he's patient enough to stand there and watch me and said, "Okay, that part's right. Now do this." Oh, okay, because he was there and I didn't have to think for myself, I could listen and get the steps. And he had me do it a couple of times over and over and over again. It was really quite ridiculous how many times we had to do it. But then finally I got it until I repeated it so many times that the muscle memory of how to do it overcame the fear. But going back to my college days, now that was a long time ago, and I was taking a math class. Now, I was an education major, so right there I was like, why do I have to take a college math class? I hate math, can't do it, don't understand it, fear again. I'm not going to do well in this class, and I hate it, and I just don't think it's fair. Great attitude to start out with, right? So it didn't go all that well. But part of that class, there was a computer component. But it's not the computers that we're working with today. This was a computer that was housed in one of the dorm's basement. And you had to dial on a dial pad with a phone that was attached to the computer. The headset was just on a cord, and then when you got a specific tone, you had to time it just right so that the handset went into the cradle of the pad, and the signal would connect. So here I go, off to do my computer work. And in those days, you had to get every command perfect. That means every little caret, every dot, every word, and the words were not even spelled. They were abbreviated, so you couldn't, it wasn't just like typing it out with spell check. It was all sorts of abbreviations, and just nothing made any sense to me. So right there, okay, wall of fear as I'm trying to write down and use all the correct symbols that I need to put in order for this thing to run. That was all we had to accomplish. We had to just show that we could connect to this computer, I guess it was a mainframe at that time, connect to a computer brain somewhere and get the little station that we were working on to spit out this run program. I think it was maybe 20 lines long, and each line had maybe 6 or 7 characters in it. I mean, we're not talking about Einstein's quadratic formula. I don't even know if he has a quadratic formula, but anyway, we're not talking about really advanced thinking here. But I would labor over this program for hours first, and then I would go down into this cold basement. I don't know what time of year it was, but I just remember it always being cold when I was down there, and the lights would sort of flicker off and on, and I hated it. I hated everything about it. So I put in the number, and I'm shaking. Please let it get the signal. Okay, 9 times out of 10, with my great attitude, we know no signal. So I'm building up the frustration. I already had hours of frustration writing this thing out. Now I can't even get it to connect so that I can type in the commands and see if it will actually work. Or if I have to start all over and rewrite the program, which was usually the case. So we are looking at tears of frustration, calling myself horrible names, and just heaping abuse on myself as I am trying to get this computer to accept my commands and spit out a piece of paper. Did I put that off? Oh, you better believe it. I don't remember ever being at that computer in the daylight. I only remember that it would be dark out when I had to walk over there. I only remember that I would be tired and it would be late at night, and I was generally all by myself, although every once in a while someone else had put it off like me, and they would come with me, and those were generally a little bit less frustrating sessions for me. So I had this complete story of negative thinking and limiting beliefs around my ability to type in a few simple commands and get the computer to run. And so I put it off. I can guarantee you that I never went to that computer until the assignment was due the next day, or as close to when it was due as possible. If I had known what I know now, I could have made that a simple and easy task. It took me months of trying to learn what my kids were teaching me on the computer before I even caught myself freezing up and not able to hear what they were saying or see what they were demonstrating for me. I spent months balled up in fear over the fact that if they weren't here and I needed to get this work done, I would have no way of accomplishing it. All of that time was wasted. All of that time was time that I could have been spending on something I really enjoyed. Instead, I had to devote all of this time and all of this anguish on something that I was making difficult when it didn't have to be. My attitude was going in was always, I don't get it. I don't understand. I'm not smart enough. I'm not something enough. It was always, I'm never going to get this. This is too hard. I would have the excuse, I didn't grow up with this, and blah, blah, blah. They were all excuses. They are not true. Now, I'll probably never want to go get a job doing anything where I write code for computers or something like that. Doesn't interest me. That's okay. I don't have to do that to be successful. I can still use the computer effectively for my benefit and the benefit of others without knowing how to write code. I can get my work done without procrastinating. I don't need to be up till 2 a.m. because I didn't understand. And with the understanding that I wasn't understanding because I was not allowing myself to understand. So when I started with the attitude, I'll probably not be able to do this because I hate math, I'm just not good at this, it's hopeless. I added anxiety, stress, a stomach ache. I added so much pressure to myself. But when I took a deep breath and realized, oh my gosh, I am blanking out while they're explaining this to me. And the reason I can't do it is because I'm trying to do it all out of order. It's really not that difficult. It's really quite straightforward and simple. But it has to be done in order. As soon as I realized that, it was like the weight of 1,000-ton brick was off my shoulders, and hey, I didn't need to tell myself that story anymore. I could change my story. I could easily accomplish the work that I needed to do and feel good about myself. Now, in the past, when I did succeed at something that I had already labeled myself unable to succeed, I would say things like, oh my gosh, it's a miracle. It's a fluke. It will never happen again. I'll never be good at this, so it's going to be difficult every time. And in the past, I absolutely met that expectation. It was always difficult. It was always time-consuming. It was always multiple failures before success. That was the story that I was holding on to, and that was the story I was living. That's all that I wanted to know. And so it became my truth. My pretend self told me, this is who you really are. You're not good at this stuff. So just expect that you're going to need help or it's going to take you a really long time. And isn't it good that you don't give up, that you're kind of stubborn, that you'll stick with it because, you're not really that smart and you're going to need this extra time. Those other people, well, they're just smarter than you are. Sorry, kid, but they're smarter than you are. And
They don't need to take that time, but you do. You're not quite as good as those other people. As long as that was my story, I found ways to make it true over and over again. So now I want to ask you, what story are you telling yourself? What stories is your pretend self creating that you are then believing and acting out? You're better than that. You are perfect. Your authentic self is perfect. And it's time for you to step up and say, I've got this. I am more than enough, and I deserve to have this finished successfully. I feel good now, and I'm going to feel even better when I finish. I have high expectations for myself, and I always rise to the occasion. I always meet those expectations. So, does anyone have a procrastination issue that they would like to discuss right now? Or just a story they want to share with us about how they've been procrastinating in the past, and give us an idea of the game plan that you want to put into action going forward so we can support you. Remember, the goal of these calls is to be the best support that we can be for each other. We're stronger together. *2 to raise your hand. Anyone want to share a story, a concern, or a victory about procrastination? Okay, I have one more thing to share. A couple of months ago, I read a little story that Brian Tracy put out. Brian Tracy is a motivational speaker, really well known, wonderful inspiration and motivation. And he was talking about how do you get through those difficult tasks. And he has a great approach that will work when you just don't want to do it. That's kind of what I assign my clean the bathroom mentality to. All right, I know it has to be done, but I just don't want to do it. Although I have to share, I found something beneath that when I started applying what I'm going to share with you in the class. And I'm going to save that story for the class because I want to go even further with this. I want to dig down even more. But let's say it's, cleaning the bathroom and you just don't feel like it. Cleaning your house, I don't know, doing an errand you just don't feel like bothering with. Well, Brian Tracy's approach was eat the frog first. Now, apparently there is, I believe, I read this story a while ago, apparently there is a religious order or a spiritual order that teaches or has their initiates eat a live frog. That's one of the ways that they are brought into this way of thinking or this order. I don't remember exactly what it is. I think it's some sort of spiritual order. But one of the things that you do is you eat a live frog. Now, most of us think that's pretty awful and would not want to willingly engage in that. But he says they eat that live frog because once they've done that, they've faced their biggest challenge and it's over. It's done. There's nothing to fear. They've already recognized they're going to be fine. It's over. They're still here. They're doing fine. Might not be a pleasant memory, but it's only a memory. It's already happened. And that's what he says. That's the way you tackle those big challenges, those things that you just don't want to do. The more challenging it is, that's the thing that you put first. And you tackle that first thing in the day where you're still really fresh. And the way you identify the thing that you want to do is the thing that will bring you a lot of value when you have finished it. So it's going to have a lot of positive impact. You're really going to feel great. And it is pretty large in scope. So something that is really going to be time consuming or require you to really apply some brain power. I know that is not what happens when we're running errands or cleaning the house or cleaning the bathrooms, but that's what I decided. Hey, I'm just going to eat the frog first and clean the bathroom, clean the house, get it over with because it really does feel good when it's done. Or run that errand instead of putting it off until late in the day when I'm facing rush hour traffic or not wanting to do it, or I'm tired and hungry and really would rather be home cooking dinner. That's the kind of attitude that you can apply to those pesky little things. Hey, you know what? I'm just going to eat this frog. I'm just going to get it done. I know it's going to feel good because it is something that has to be done. And it always feels great to be organized and clean. So that's going to help me feel so much better when this is done. And I'll just go ahead and eat that frog. Now, this is not going to work. This is sort of the old way of handling procrastination. So this is not going to work when you are assigning fear to the issue. That's what we need to address in this class. But when it is something that you know you're more than capable of doing and you just don't want to do it, try the Brian Tracy approach, which is eat your frog first. Tackle that thing which is most reprehensible to you that you know will bring great satisfaction and you can feel great afterward. But if you are in a place where you are in lack thinking, you are feeling not enough for some reason, then you really want to join me for this procrastination class so that you will have the tools that you need. This is not just you being lazy. I used to think, oh my gosh, you're so lazy. Every time I would procrastinate, golly day, girl, get it together. What's wrong with you? Yada, 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 yada. It has nothing to do with laziness. It has everything to do with your belief system. So immediately cross lazy off your list and go deeper. And if it continues to be a problem, join me for this class. Probably give me at least a week to put it together. It really is important to me that when I present a class, that I make sure I am giving you absolutely my best, absolutely everything that I know at that time and that I have received from my energetic helpers goes into every class. So I don't just slap something together and say, okay, this is great. No, this is a lot of time and a lot of commitment goes into really making sure the class is going to give you my highest and best. And then if I get more information on the subject, I will either create an addendum or we'll have a more advanced class on the subject. We're always learning and growing. So what I'm able to share today will not be as great as what I'm able to share tomorrow. But I will bring my very best every single time. Okay, so one last call for questions. Anybody have a procrastination issue that they want to share? All right, then. I just want to thank you for being on this call with me. I want to encourage you, if it's just a mundane task, to eat the frog first. If it is not, if it's something that you can realize that you've addressed or attached fear to, please begin reminding yourself that you are more than enough. Take the more than enough approach to that which you fear. This call will be up on YouTube, so if you are enjoying these calls, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Marcia Martin, thehearthealer.com. Marcia spelled M-A-R-C-I-A. If you want to work with me personally, I offer a complimentary consultation, 30 minutes. You just get to ask me questions to determine whether you feel that I am a good match for you, and I get an opportunity to see if my area of expertise will help you. Message me, marciamartin.thehearthealer.com. Click on contact. I always reply. So if you don't get a reply, send me another message or check your spam folder. Actually, check your spam folder first because I always reply. It may be up to 48 hours because I do work with a lot of clients, but I do always reply. So if you do not get a message from me, please check your spam folder. If for some reason I didn't get your message, please message me again. It's really important that I hear from you and that I have the opportunity to help you shine some light on whatever it is that you're dealing with at this moment. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. And no more procrastinating because we know we're more than enough. So until next Wednesday, I'm sending you my love.